this is Melanie Beechwood for Spring 2026 Computer Vision at Northeastern University. This is my project. I believe this is project 4 or 3. Oh my gosh, what project is this? Project 3, sorry. Okay, project 3, which is going to be submitted very soon. This is my demo for it. So for this is an object recognition for at least 5 objects. I accidentally snuck in a few more, but I'm going to walk you through how it works. It is a primarily command line interface just for ease, and would probably be better with an actual UI in front, but we'll go with what we've got right now. So at this stage, it is at task 8, so for the demo, so the eigenspace one shot has not been implemented yet, but the rest of the project is complete, including extensions. So what we have here is I am in my project 3. You can see on my side I've got some data sets. This is across a bunch of different things, and we have the actual source. We have some files here that you'll see later. We've got a CMake and things like that. So first, just to show you how to make it, we're going to go into the build folder. I'm going to hit make. It's already been made recently, so we're going to go right back out to our main area, and then this is where we'll start calling. Now, my application works with individual still images, a directory of images, a video, or a live feed. So we're going to kind of showcase this one by one. Let's go look at a single image first. So to do that, I'm going to go up to my data folder, to my project 3. These are all images. And then let's use one of the ones that you saw during it, I think 11 was. Oh, this is ad. Okay, this is not one of the ones you saw, but this will work just fine for our purposes. So right now on the screen, you can see that it is saying that this one has a current ID on the image of number 12. That is because there's probably a lot of little regions that got put together. I did not renumber them. That is something that we could do in the future, but I decided it wasn't actually hurting anything. We can also see the aspect ratio here. This is using that oriented bounding box that you can see on the screen with the percentage filled. And then we can see the centroid and the primary axis angle, which lines up with how the bounding box works. Now, over on the right here in the command line, you can see that an image was loaded. It detected it did load 79 features from our database, and then it gives us some instructions. You can do a debug mode, labeling your object, evals, or you can quit. So let's look at what that does. So in this case, we're gonna go with the debug. And this brings you up all these different images so you can kind of get a better sense of what's happening. We have the very first step we did with the enhancing the grayscale, and then this is kind of hard to read with the green, but this one is turning it into a binary, and it shows the threshold. Since I am doing ISO data, the threshold does change based on the image, so this is showing you what that threshold is right here. This is the actual binary, and then this is the one that has been cleaned. Now you can see that we talk about it more in length in the documentation, but when I was doing so this one here is the first step with filling the holes, and you can see that it starts getting rid of some of those reflections we're seeing in the one before, and then I do a cleaning the noise to try to help get some of the noise on the edges and things like that. Now, I couldn't figure it out with the reflections, a nice balance between cleaning the holes but not making it jagged. So we can see when we color the regions that not everything it did get a little distorted by how I did the noise. And that go into that deeper into the paper, some thoughts around that and some ways to do it. You can also see the original bounding box, which is not coordinated with that. And then the annotated regions with the location, the one that's on the screen right now, is your final one. This really helps when you're looking to see why something's doing what it's doing, and was really helpful throughout. We can just hit debug mode and that will go right back off. We can also see that in debug mode, it also gives you those regions. So in this one, there was only one region that was considered large enough to be of import and didn't touch the edges. And it gives us a little bit more information around that, including the hue moments and a little bit more about that. So these are a lot of the things that are in that feature vector that is saved. Now, speaking of our feature vector, if we were to change, that label is correct for the item, but if we needed to change it, we could. So we could hit S and it will show which items IDs that we could label. If we needed to correct the label, we could, or if we wanted to add this again to the database, we can put it with the same label. I'm just going to do a 0 to cancel. I don't know why that failed the first time. Space or something weird. Anyway, eval mode is going to be the same across. all of these, and what this allows you to do is to hit an R. It's going to give you a prediction and let you know what to do. So in this, we're going to hit enter if it's correct. We're going to type in the real name if it's wrong, and skip if it's not an object. That's important on occasion. Rare occasions, that spiral you see in the background of the image for my setup will get flagged as an unknown. So this allows us to easily skip it. The setup I have is okay, but not the best. So this was correct. So we're going to hit my apologies. So what happened there is that it corrected it to an E, which must have come in from an earlier frame. This hasn't happened before, so that's unfortunate while hitting live. So normally I would do a queue to quit, and then this would flush this evaluation to update the database, as well as give us that confusion matrix. But I'm just going to go ahead and Control C out of this to make sure that doesn't impact our database. Now our database does not have anything updated in that last bit, so that is okay. Again, unfortunate to see that live, but that's all right. Now, for doing an image directory, we can do project 3. Everything is basically the same. We have the same kind of idea here. We can see debug mode. This one, it makes more sense for if you were doing evals, because you're going to be able to go through it. And then you see a few more options, primarily that you can go to previous or space to the next. So in this, we're moving to the next one. This particular one did not come up as an object because my finger is on the edge and it connects with it. So that happens with a few of these at the front. This is something that, as I was playing with the labels, we realized that stirrups and headphones get mixed up fairly often. So that's something you can see. And some of that is because of these funny reflections. But again, we go more into that in the report. So we can keep on going through these, and you can go backwards. And it's a really neat way to really quickly be able to see in your training set. For instance, this one. Oh, well, that's pretty obvious what went wrong, even though it looked nice. Something about my engineered lighting setup was wrong for this picture. And so that's a really nice way of kind of getting an idea of what's happening. And this one, even though my hand is in the way, it was showcasing all right, and so it correctly got it. So forth and so forth. Now, let's showcase a video. So if we're doing a video, my apologies, the beginning of this video is extremely boring. So I'm going to try to fast forward this a bit ahead. My video and live feed are a bit laggy, so it's just something to keep in mind. Please be patient. The idea is pretty much the same, so you can pause, you can skip frames and things like that. At the very beginning of the video, I have these both touching the edge, so this is not going to be helpful. And you can see here that this is playing live at the moment, and because of all those calculations it's doing, I think the connected components in particular is very, very slow. So you can see that it's struggling a bit. I'm going to fast forward us, so F will let us skip frames, and it does quite a few frames, because I noticed there was big gaps when I was moving objects in and out, and so it does about a 10-second jump. You'll see it here in a moment. And it's not computing all of these in that 10-second jump. It's just doing a skip. But it's surprising how long I was trying to do pauses in between things. Or here where it rolled away. So that is kind of just a thing to be aware of with the video. If this was on a UI, it'd be really nice to have kind of a drag and drop like you usually see with videos. And that would make it much easier. Okay, I'm going to leave it on this one because it looks like I'm setting down a bit at the moment. You can see even live as is coming in that it is detecting it, and there we see that one I was talking about where the spiral is seeing it. Now these tend to get all weird when a hand is in the way, but that is to be expected. But you can see how the campo is being correct as it's more and more visible. It's correctly getting flagged, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna just give this another second while it's going. With this, what else can we chat about? So this does handle multiple objects, as you can see on the screen, and then this does allow for unknowns. So you can see in the spiral that I never labeled that spiral, so it's considering it an unknown. I could start labeling it and build a new database with that label feature. All right, I'm going to pause it here. So now it's paused. I can now go to the previous frame if I wanted, and that can be really nice to help detect a moment when something was going a little. From here, now you see that back spiral is showcasing itself as a bit, and a little tiny bit on the bit is showcasing as a Dremel. So that's kind of interesting. Unfortunately, my system does not have a way to correct some of these where it's just an unknown. I figured that would be a little too complicated. So in this case, these are saying that there's something got detected and its similarity score was below a 2.5. So anything below 2.5 is considered an actual object and it gets voted on. by the top 3 nearest neighbors. So it's not just the primary, but whatever the top 3 are. That gives it a little more stability and resilience. However, in this case, it was a little too much. So in this case, this is actually a good frame to show you the eval mode. Let's go into eval. This does work live, but when it's in eval, it'll go ahead and pause your frame automatically. In this case, we already paused. And that's because these do change. It's a little less obvious here as it is in the live, but in the live, as these are moving around, it will change a little as the light moves, or if there's something in the room that moves. It can make it fluctuate for some of the ones that are struggling a little bit more. So eval mode allows you to actually be able to know what you're hitting up against. So I'm going to hit R, which turns us into not just eval mode, but to make some corrections here. So region 3 was a bit. So to mark this as wrong, we would have to actually correct what it is. So I'm just going to skip. That's just saying it's not an object. It won't get used. Region number 27 was labeled as Campo, and that is correct. Region 30 was marked as a Dremel. I'm not exactly sure what I should do for this, where that's such a tiny little thing, because it's part of a bit, but it is not the bit. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and skip because I just don't know what would make sense there. Oops. Well, you just saw me make a mistake. I hit correct instead of skip, but all right. And then this bit is correct. So unfortunately, that is faulty data, but you know, it is what it is. All right. We're going to go ahead and resume. Now we're still in evaluation mode, but it's going to play live for a little bit. Well, as live as my system can. It's pretty laggy. My apologies. So let's fast forward a little bit. Okay. And it doesn't want to fast forward. I must have done something with my checks where I didn't fix when I'm in eval mode, so it's not correctly looking at the skip frames when I'm in eval mode. So that is a bug that I should fix. Oh no, never mind. Yeah, it was. It just had a pause. This is a problem I've had with the lagginess, is that sometimes it works really good, and it seems to be dependent not just on what's happening with this, but what's happening with my computer. I have noticed that when there's something going on in the background, it'll end up queuing the controls I gave, and then I got impatient, so I tried hitting it a couple times, and now we have sad things happening. But so you got to see it skip forward frames a bunch of times there. We're gonna hit R again. This means that it's gonna pause it. And here we can see that that spiral was hit as an unknown. We're going to skip it because that is true. That 35 is indeed a bit. To keep in line with what we did earlier, that other one is just a part of a tiny part of the bit. So I'm going to just go ahead and skip, and controller is correct. So anyway, that's kind of how that looks. If we go out of eval mode, it's thinking. So I think it's doing that lag again. I think it's going even particularly bad because I'm recording at the same time. So my apologies. But I really want to showcase to you what that matrix looks like at the end off of this. So bear with me just a moment while we hold on for it to finally catch up. This is the other part where the UI would be nice because of how OpenCV works with hitting the windows. I have noticed that at times it can be a bit weird. There we go. Eval mode is now off, so we can see how it kind of goes live. I'm going to go ahead and hit Q. Now that seems to be working again. When it hits Q, it's going to go ahead and flush that database with those corrections. Oh my goodness. I swear they always say the worst things happen when you're showing it live. So although I have dealt with some lag on this. This is one of the worst I've ever seen. So I am not exactly sure. I really don't want to lose the information we saw here because it only shows you the confusion matrix when you quit, and it is just not registering my Q key press. Again, I know for sure it registers it, so this is due to that lag where it seems to get condition. Okay, well this is not ideal, but I'll have to show you again in the live. I'm gonna go ahead and just quit it. That's such a bummer. Okay, I'm going to scroll up where you can see one of my runs earlier tonight. I was doing some evaluation on unknown, and this was the confusion matrix. When you're in evaluation mode, at the end it'll go ahead and output a confusion matrix, and so you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like. It also gives you a little bit of the total accuracy, which is nice. All right, last but not least, we've got live mode. So with live mode, we're just gonna put in our camera signal, which I am using my iPhone. See if continuity works when on Zoom or on Loom recording. It does. Fantastic. All right, so you see a blank canvas. That is what I currently am working with. So it has a light above it. You can see it in the paper about how the setup works, but we do have that spiral kind of towards the edge. I'm going to go ahead and put a controller in. Well, there is a bit of a lag, but you can see that it is working mostly live, and there we go. It is a controller. Let's go ahead and add a Dremel into this. Oops. There we go. And then an unknown object, or at least, well, it's probably going to flag as a Dremel. I haven't actually tried this one yet. Nope. Okay, it sees it as different enough from the Dremel to where that is unknown. So you can see here that it is working live. It is slightly slow, but pretty good. And this is a case of how it uses multiple objects. So here we can actually build up our database. I just did it just a little bit before this video with an item that was being triggered as unknown, and I went around, saved a bunch of labels. We'll see if there's enough. There's only 3 or so, so it's pretty, it might still flag as unknown. Nope, there it goes. So that's just, let's go back and forth. That's funny. Again, there's only a couple examples in here, but these were ones that I did live when you put in unknown live. So let's actually do it with that wrench now that you've seen it. So we're gonna go into, oopsie, I told you I thought it was gonna pick it up as a Dremel. That's funny. That's fine. So we're gonna label this. Maybe. It was not being this labby right before, so I'm going to guess that there's something going on in the background with recording that's causing a few issues. So I'm going to say, okay, I want to label that as a wrench. That's all. There's not multiple labels in here. This is just because I was impatient and I hit it twice. We're going to move it. Oh, I have to hit resume. Now there, it thinks it's a Dremel, which is incorrect, so we're going to save it again. Number 3. In my experience, it takes about 3 to 5 of these for a new object. And just moving it around. And relabeling. And you can see here that these are updating live, so every single time I save a label, it is putting it directly, it's saving its feature, and putting it directly into the database. Oh, and there you go. That was actually the very first one, where it detected that on its own. A bit. So this should do a reflection. It might cause it to be unknown, cause it to be a Dremel in this case. And that makes sense because we only have 3 data points right now. So I'm kind of, it really just depends. Like I said, most of the ones I saw need to have between 5 and 10 before they do really, really well. And depending on how much it crosses over with a different. All right. And so there you go. We'll need to keep on doing that until it works at all these different angles, but there's one where it's all just fine. And that's how we can really quickly build that database to where when I started this a few days ago, I had 57 from my original data set, training set, and so far I've been able to bring in a few more, so I have several different classifications now, and they're doing all right. Reflections, from what I learned, were the worst part, and your engineered setup is really, really critical for that, and the noise cleaning is where a lot of this, it could use a lot of work, along with the fact that it does need to get a little bit more performant, especially when doing video. All right, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a really long haul and that it takes a little bit, so hopefully you can just put this on high speed and enjoy it, kind of get the sense of it. and go from there. Just while this is going on in the background, I'm just really happy. Let's see if adding that wrench messed up my Dremel. It is a little hard fitting everybody on there, but there you go, all three working. So I'm really excited about this project. This makes me really happy. I think it's really cool. Thank you so much. Have a great one.